Hey, welcome back to Diabolic Shrimp, the least professional talk show on the internet. I'm your host, best-selling author and comic creator, Josh Grant. And today on Diabolic Shrimp, we have a special guest. We have Ken Brandt. Ken is just he's really inspiring. He's just a really kind person. He wrote a book, Positive Vision, which we'll dive all into today. We'll dive into his life. He's had this adventurous life of like living with poor vision and making that part of his life and making that like having it just this full adventurous life that we'll just dive on into a bit about him before we bring him on. Ken Brandt has led a fun and adventurous life and had a successful business career despite, or perhaps in part because of, his bad eyes. He has always had poor vision and slightly crossed eyes, had 6 eye operations, including a detached retina and cataract operation in each eye, and spent parts of his life legally blind. He gets a medal. That's a lot of surgeries. That I've seen an eye surgery before, and it looked really painful to me. Prior to retiring and becoming an author, Ken held senior management and management consulting positions in information technology and information security within firms and clients of all sizes in North America, Europe, Asia, and Australia. Ken is an entertaining speaker and an amateur New Orleans-style jazz trumpeter. He and his wife, Judy Roberts Brandt, have been married for over 20 years, lived most of their lives in New York City, and now live in Melbourne, Australia. Woo! So Ken has had this like crazy adventurous life. He's been waiting in the wings for a bit, and he's just a fun guy to talk to. So we're going to go ahead and bring him on. Ken, welcome to Diabolic Shrimp.
Well, thanks for having me on. I'm excited about being here.
Yeah, well, it's such a blast to have you on. Like I said, I've read some of your work. I really enjoyed Positive Vision. So we're going to really dive in there and just hearing about your life. And you've had some crazy adventures that we'll dive into. And so it's just great to have you on. I know we have a decent amount of people in the like watching live. And so if anyone's watching this and want to check out Ken's work while you're watching this, if you haven't read his book, Positive Vision, you can check out his website and his book down in the description below. The link is down there. But Ken, like I always like to introduce people through a bit of show and tell. I think it's a fun way to introduce them. So did you bring us anything for show and tell today?
Yes, and I have to admit this is the first time I've been involved with show and tell since I was in kindergarten. But of course, it's fun to do.
Yeah. Well, I was a teacher for years, so it's like for me it was like not that long ago that I was just doing show and tell. So it's normal for me, weirdly.
Well, I brought my trumpet.
Yes, nice.
Which I've had for many years. I'm a much more professional writer than I am a trumpet player. I'm definitely an amateur trumpeter. But it's been a lot of fun. I enjoy playing. Yeah, I'll give you a small sample.
Yes. Oh, please do. I'm excited about this. I'm going to make everyone who comes on the show play.
Yes.
Woo! Yeah, woo! I was getting the snaps in there, Ken. It's like good. I was like, you're raising the bar here. Like just like about a month ago, we had someone on here that brought it was Teresa Jacobs brought her dog on, and then now you got the trumpet and the music going. It's like you're bringing this show up to a new level of class. It's like where I'm gonna
up
make
or down. It's moving anyway.
I was like, I'm gonna make everybody come on like and play an instrument and bring their pet or something. From now on, it's gonna be a requirement.
Yeah, so I'd get a pet. I'd have to borrow a pet.
so like yeah, yeah, all right, we're gonna get back to the music in just a second because I do have a question about that. But let's like rewind kind of big time here. You've had to like overcome a number of hurdles in life, right? You were talking about some of those eye surgeries, but what was one of your like earliest challenges that you've surmounted in your life?
I most of my, it's different if you have poor vision, most of your life, because you don't really think of it as a challenge. You just think of it as that's the way it is.
Yeah.
So I never really thought about it as sort of overcoming challenges. I just thought, well, this is the way it is. Let's just do the best you can. So I can't really say that. I was very happily surprised one time in elementary school. They had this thing in the U.S. where I was in elementary school, and you had to throw. You had this presidential contest, like the whole country was involved, right? So you had a bunch of different events, and one of the events was I did really well in all the events except the one where you had to like throw a softball or a hard ball like a certain distance towards a pylon. Well, I couldn't really see the pylon, so my throw was long enough, but it wasn't straight, and I thought, oh well, I'm disqualified, and I was very surprised and sort of embarrassed that they gave me the award anyway. So I guess that's a challenge I overcame, but I did it by accident.
Yeah, I was like, that's the only time I've ever actually like managed to like throw a ball towards anybody was like by accident. I have like zero hand-eye coordination myself. So, all right, well, you've had this like you've had an adventurous life and have done like a whole bunch of cool stuff, and a lot of that is like outlined in your book too. And like, tell us a bit about like working in like you kind of did like a lot of work in kind of like cybersecurity or information security, it sounds like. So like what was that like?
Well, I got into the whole thing a little bit by accident. I went for an MBA, and you had to take, which was a good idea. The first year you had to take a whole bunch of different things, and that helps you figure out what you want to concentrate on. So like accounting, finance, marketing, operations. One of them was related to computer systems, and I really didn't want to take that because I was totally uninterested and thought it would be terrible. Took the course, really liked it, changed my focus to that, became a programmer and then a project manager, and then doing system conversions and strategies, and worked for a lot of Wall Street firms, and had my own Wall Street consulting firm. Then I switched after, and lots of really great clients around the country. And I switched to information security because I thought that was an interesting part of information technology, and then spent a long time in that. And this, same thing happened. They started, it was a little bit different because I was more senior. And had contacts. So I started a firm, co-started a firm where we tested the security of other companies. So we would try to break into their systems, and then we would always break in, and we would then explain how we did it, and that enabled them to fix it. And then I did other types of security consulting where for large utility companies or government units or banks, we would help them with risk management projects. What are the things they need to set up and change related to their information security, and help them fix that. So I did that kind of thing, partly in the US. Then in the middle of that, moved to Australia and basically did the same thing here. Now my wife and I are living in Australia.
Nice. I was like,
and then I retired and became an author.
Yeah, I was like, now we have Ken Brandt, who is a professional thief and spy, right? I was like,
in a nice way.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, helps you fix all. I'll have you like do a cyber attack or something on Diabolic Shrimp. My website. It's probably just full of holes. It's not even. It has zero security.
Well, You don't want to mention that in front of many of
I'm,
the people viewing
I'm
now.
joking. I know I'm joking. But yeah, bring it on. No, just joking. So like what so you're going back to your music now. So like you're a musician, as you say amateur, but I disagree that you're fantastic. What got you into music in the first place?
When I was a kid, again back in elementary school, the they tried to interest people in music instruments. So a bunch of people, I guess from high school, came around and they each played their instrument a little bit and told you why it was the best instrument and that you should learn it, right? So then we go around our elementary school class and everybody gets to pick an instrument or and hopefully it's spread out enough so everybody gets one. But I just remember being truly, truly shocked and amazed that everybody didn't pick trumpet. It seemed so obvious to me that trumpet was the best instrument. Why would anybody pick anything else? But of course, it's good. People like different things, and that's what happened. So I took lessons for about a year or something, and then I unfortunately dropped it. I just stopped. Didn't start again at all till I was in college, and I played not a music course or a music major or anything. I was an economics and political science major, but off campus, I started taking lessons and really enjoyed that. Did that for a little while, then moved to a studio apartment in New York City where you couldn't really practice. I didn't have any place to practice, so I dropped it again. Then I went to the opening day of the Louis Armstrong House Museum, which is in New York City in Queens, because how can you not like Louis Armstrong? And it was opening day of this museum, and it was just going to be spectacular. It was a weekday. I took off from work. Beautiful, sunny, clear, warm day, and they had dozens and dozens and dozens of world-class great trumpeters playing, one after the other after the other. The whole thing was free. You got a tour of the museum. You got to sit around and listen to all these great people. At first, it was one after the other, but there were too many, so they started putting them up in pairs. Then they started putting them up in groups because there were still too many. And there were people that had traveled internationally to be able to be at the opening and play trumpet, and there were lots of great professionals from around the U.S. and tons from New York City. So it was just great. And I said, I've got to start again. I've got to figure out a way to do this. So I started taking lessons, and by then I was living in a different place and I could practice there. And that's when I started. So I've now been playing for more than 15, 16 years. I think I should be much better, but I am way improved from when I started.
Nice. I was like, well, and you just blew me away. Like I said, I'm gonna make everybody play something on this show. I have a ukulele like situated back here, but like I actually have I have no idea how to play. I'm like the least musical person ever. I can sort of sing, but just not in front of people. Maybe I'll practice so next time we can have like a duet. But we have a decent amount of people watching live. Dr. Wild says hello, by the way, and so hello, Dr. Wild, and if you're down there, if you're watching, hey, feel free to comment in our live comments. I'd love to bombard Ken. We'll put him in the hot seat. So, but so like, all right. So does your music affect your writing or vice versa?
I never thought of that question. I don't think so, really. They're both interesting, creative things. I mean, music, when you're just practicing, is a solo activity like writing. But the most fun part of music is when you play with other people.
Yeah.
And writing is not one of those kind of things.
Yeah, I'll give you that. I was like, anytime I've ever tried to write something with anybody else, I end up like taking it over, and like I'm not a very team player when it comes to writing, as bad as that is. And so, all right, so
it is excellent. I was very lucky to have a wonderful editor, and that makes a giant difference too.
So, well, yeah, and definitely, well, I wish I had a music editor. Don't make me try and play this ukulele. It'll be rough. And so, oh, Dr. Wild says it's great to see us live again. I hope he means like alive. Like it's been like about a month since I got a video out here. So yes, I'm still alive. And so, but yeah. So Martin Anderson down there is saying inspiring story about Mr. Brandt's adventures with the trumpet. And so good, you're inspiring upcoming musicians. So, but well, let's inspire some people more, because you've traveled all over the world, and what was it about Australia that made you decide to kind of set down your roots there? I mean, I typically avoid places where like everything can kill you. So like what was it about Australia that like attracted you to stay there?
Well, there definitely are. Australia has something like the 8 or 9 out of the 10 most dangerous spiders and snakes.
Yes.
And
that's enough to keep me out.
There's poisonous jellyfish. There's poisonous octopuses. There's all kinds of stuff. But if you're careful and you're not in the jungle part of Australia, there's much less of that. So
yeah.
Anyway, my wife and I were living in New York City. We were in a really nice neighborhood in Lower Manhattan in Tribeca, and everything was fine, and we were perfectly happy living there. But next door to us was a parking lot. The parking lot was being built. They were changing it into a building. So they started, and then they messed up their own foundation and the foundation of our building. We had to move out because it was just too much of a pain in the neck.
Yeah.
And so we're deciding where to move. And my wife had lined up a place that we had actually used to live in, and we could have gone back there. And I said, well, it's so much work moving. You got to get all your stuff in boxes. You got to get it somewhere. You got to get it out of boxes. Why don't we just move somewhere completely new and have a big adventure? She said, okay, let's do it. So my first thought was, let's move to Beijing, and it's the economic engine of the world. And, this was 16 years ago. Mm-hmm. And so she said, well, we don't know any Chinese languages. We don't know a single person who lives in the country, and I don't want to go. So I said, well, those are 3 good reasons. So we changed. We decided we should have some criteria. Let's pick someplace that neither of us had ever been, not for business, not for fun, mm-hmm. not for living, someplace we'd never ever been, that English was the primary language, that we thought would be fun to go to, and we knew at least one person. So we knew 3 people who lived in Australia, 2 in Sydney. So I called up my friend Paul first, and I said, Paul, we're thinking about moving to Australia. What do you think? And he said, yeah, sure, that's great. Come on down. I'll work for you. He and I had worked together for 20 years of different things. So I said, no, I need to work for you. I need a visa and everything. And he goes, I don't have a job right now. So I go, geez. All right. So I call up my friend Mike, who I'd also worked with for 20 years. And he basically said, yeah, come on down. You can work for our company. And that was pretty much the whole interview. There were other interviews, but they were trying to convince me to come to Australia. So
they made you play the trumpet, I'm sure, at the time in your interview.
Exactly. So the closest my wife had been to Australia was Hawaii, and the closest I had been is Mexico. We moved here, and we love it. We thought 3 to 5 years. And now it's been 15 years. Right. We're Australian citizens. We're still American citizens. We love being both, except for the tax part, but we love being both. And we still, aside from the pandemic, like to regularly go back to visit the U.S.
Yeah.
So we're on hold for now, but other than that, we really like the whole situation. And Melbourne, Australia is just a tremendous place to live.
Yeah, one day I'll actually have to get out there before I get sued by the Australian
We'll have you
Bureau
over for lunch.
of tourism. But I'll have to get out there and visit Australia one of these days since I'm on all the way on the other side of the world here. But all right, so we have several questions to you actually. Let's start here with Wendy's. So Wendy Will says, "Hi Ken, when you learned trumpet, did you learn to play by ear due to your low vision?"
I sometimes have spent a lot of time playing by learning, trying to play by ear. And I then ended up not doing as much of that as I would have liked or should have. And now I'm getting back to that. I think it's much more fun to be able to do that. And so I'm slowly working my way. I don't want to say working my way back to being good at it, but working my way back to working on that skill.
Being good at it, he's excellent at it. He's just being humble. And so jumping on to Dr. Wild here, says, "Hey Ken, when did you first realize you wanted to be a writer?"
I have two very different writing paths in my life. So one is what is completely boring and horrible, and you would never want a book about that. And the other is this book. So the one that's horrible is I spent most of my life writing technology and information security reports, proposals, risk analysis, strategies, like bullet points, charts, exactly what you would not want in a book. So I had to really fight myself to write a book that was interesting. And what I ended up doing, which really helped a lot, is I said, all right, wait a minute. What are the stories I've been telling people over beers and coffee my whole life that I should just put down, that they liked, that I should put down in a book? So that was basically my plan. The reason I did it was I'd spent most of my life not really wanting to discuss anything related to my vision. I figured, there's no need to let people know how little I can actually see compared to them. It just raises a bunch of questions. People might feel sorry for me. It's not a good idea. And then during my career, I didn't want to bring it up at all because I thought it would be bad for my career. You might limit me in some ways. You might not get as much opportunity. So I didn't want to bring it up then either. But then I retired and I said, I think this book might help some people, and a lot of other people will think it's really funny, and some people like the adventures. So I'll just write a book, because now I don't care what the repercussions are, and if people actually read the book, they'll have a positive view. They're not going to feel bad about how little I see.
Nice. I was like, well, and you certainly inspired me through when I was just reading your work, and for that very reason, it's just that you were willing to. It's like, being willing to put yourself out there, just like you are now, coming on this show and being in the hot seat, right? It's like being willing to put yourself out there is so hard, and yet
I'm at home.
Yeah, well, and so I'm glad to make your home feel less comfortable by making you put yourself out there. But honestly, it's like I love that. I just think that's so inspiring when people are willing to do that and share like a genuine stories from their life. And so Dr. Wild and Wendy, thanks for throwing those questions out there. Let's see. Wendy says, does Ken envision ever writing a more lighthearted book for children with vision impairments?
I hadn't thought about that, but I do think the current book,
is pretty lighthearted.
Vision, Enjoying the Adventures and Advantages of Poor Eyesight, a lot of that could be, if a parent was reading that to a kid, a lot of parts of that could be really fun for a little kid.
Mm-hmm.
The jokes, the stuff. There's a corny joke at the end of each chapter, or a joke or two, and some ophthalmologists and optometrists have told me that they have tested out these jokes on kids, and some of them work really well. So, there's parts in there, and and there's adventure stuff, and so it might work. It's not a very first kind of book for very young kids, but I don't know. I'll thanks for the suggestion. I'll think about it.
Well, I was able to read it, and I read kind of at a very low level. I'm a very I was able to read it and get through it. So I think it works great. So, and I also love the humor. You guys will get a snippet of the humor later. We'll trade some jokes back and forth. Ken and I will from his book. So let's dive on into the book. I do want to get there. So here's the first lines from Positive Vision. Like I said, you can check it out down in the description if you haven't had a chance to read it or check it out. Do look down there. But I'll give it the "and then the murders began" test. I do this with every book I read. Just I throw in "and then the murders began" after the first few lines, just to keep myself entertained always. So here we go. This murderous book, being down in Melbourne, where you have all the dangerous spiders now. But the book goes, "I like going fast, walking fast, running, sprinting, generally good. Bicycling and rollerblading, fun, but not so good because I can easily go faster than I can see the bumps and potholes coming up. Driving is really fun, but I don't see nearly well enough to get a license, which is a good thing for society. Skydiving sounded fast and fun, but I probably should have thought about being able to spot the landing area before trying it. And then the murders began. He's the murderous skydiver." No. And so Ken, you've had this adventurous life, and you've kind of chronicled it a bit in Positive Vision. Like you said, these stories you told over coffee. Tell us a bit about Positive Vision just in general.
Well, it's I'm highly biased. I think it's a great book, and of course the friends of mine who have read it who want to discuss it, are just the ones who liked it. So I'm even more biased because of that. It's a combination of adventures and anecdotes and tips and jokes and quotes. There's an inspiring quote or a humorous quote at the start of each chapter and a joke at the end of each. But the bulk of it is the, adventures and advantages, so those two things, a lot of the stories are both an adventure and an advantage. So it's not organized chronologically like most memoirs. It's organized by topic. There's, living, the first chapter is, living longer. Why, if you have poor eyesight, you could easily be living longer than a bunch of other people, so there's a bunch of things about the advantages of poor eyesight where, better balance, more creativity, better health, better public speaking skills, all kinds of different things. And I'm happy to talk about any of that stuff. And then there's a bunch of adventures all intertwined with that. There's the parish. I was the captain of my university parachuting team until I discovered that I didn't discover it. My eye doctor was very upset when I told him that I was skydiving. And so it turns out if you've had a detached retina in either eye, if you have a large bang to the head, which could happen in skydiving, in different types of landing and stuff, that you could lose vision in that eye. You could have another tear and that could be it. So I reluctantly had to give that up. So, that's one of those living longer things. If you have to avoid certain things like parachuting, I probably would have I would have really liked to, had a motorcycle, but, I can't get a license. It's not good for society, but I probably extended my life by not having one. I might have joined the fire department or the police department or the military. I don't know. I can't say for sure, but I'm not eligible because I don't see well enough. All of those things lead to longer life, So, and then there's much more, other things like you're interested in, because you have poor vision, you tend to read articles, if you happen to see them, on breakthroughs in technology that might help vision. And then right beside those kind of articles are general articles about overall health and diet and exercise and everything else. So you end up reading a bunch of those things, which probably leads to longer, better health anyway. So there's a whole trade-off between adventures and anecdotes and longer life.
Yeah. Well, and I just like, when I read through like Positive Vision, that's something I loved about it, is like you kind of tend to bounce back and forth between like some of the practicalities of things, but also like the inspiring bit of just how you just had this positive message always. Yeah, it's like there's been trade-offs in your life and you haven't been able to do like maybe certain things that you might have wanted to, but like you said, it's a trade-off. Like, hey, maybe you're living longer from that. And that's something I really appreciated, is just that positive message that you've always been throwing out there.
And you just have to laugh at stuff. It's just, you get into certain situations and, it just happens. And if you don't think they're funny, well, shame on you. A couple of days ago, I was with a bunch of friends. We're in a restaurant and I needed to go to the restroom, right? So I go and where's the restroom? And somebody says, all right, go down here. It's a door on the right. Well, I missed the door on the right. So I take the next door on the right. And then the next thing I know, I'm in the kitchen. There's all the cooks and me. And, so I have a little conversation with them. They explain where the restroom is. I go out. But, if you don't think stuff like that is funny, well, shame on you.
Yeah, well, and you just gotta have a bit of like, it's just in anything in life. You gotta have a what do they call it? Joie de vivre. It's your joy of life, right? It's like you gotta have a little bit of that. And so it looks like Dr. Wild's giving you a thumbs up on that. So positive message received. Dr. Wild, thanks for the shout out too. He's telling people to subscribe. Appreciate it. Go subscribe to his channel too. It's like Joe Sorrell 39YT. So diving on in like into your book. Like, I don't want to spoil too much of your book because it really is a fun book to read. Like, it's got the inspiration piece, those positive messages, and it's got these like just anecdotes like you just brought up where you just have this bit of adventure in life. And so, but
that's not in the book. I just mentioned that because it happened yesterday.
Yeah, I know, but I was saying like your book is kind of like similar though. It's got these anecdotes thrown in there. So tell us, without spoiling too much of the book, tell us about your encounter with a thief.
I generally don't discuss this one because I think it's either my first or second favorite story in the book. So I've been leaving it out of interviews so that people are super excited when they read the book. Generally I've gotten tons of positive feedback about that, where people just think it's hysterical and or should be in a movie. What happened was one of my best friends and I were, it was a weekday in New York. So, we've got to work the next day and we've been out drinking beers all night. It's late at night. We're walking towards where his car is parked. So he lived a few blocks away from there, but his car was parked there. We're walking that way because the car is like in between his apartment and my apartment. So he's going towards we're walking towards his car. All of a sudden he starts running. So I don't know why he's running, but we used to be on the same track team, cross country team and stuff. And we ran in New York Roadrunner races. So he starts running. So I start running and I look behind me and I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. Nobody's chasing us. Why are we doing this? We've been out drinking. We're sprinting, but we're wearing suits, it's ridiculous. And so then we get closer and I realize, wait a minute, we're not being chased. We're chasing a guy because there's somebody in John's car stealing stuff. So we get closer. The thief starts running. We start chasing the thief. And then I'm not going to give it away, but it's very exciting.
Keep it adventurous.
There's robbers, there's bicycles, there's falls, there's tips, there's turns. I get stopped by the cops. They think it's me. Eventually we catch the guy. I think my friend John deserves like almost all of the credit, but whenever we tell this story, he very, very nicely says, "No, Ken, you deserve a lot of credit as well." And in the end, we made New York City a safer place.
Nice. That's like now we have Ken Brandt, Batman, vigilante crime fighter. That was honestly like that. I think that was my favorite story from within Positive Vision. That's why I wanted to bring that up first. You got to chase down a thief, and like I said, I don't want to spoil too much of the book because it was written excellently. So what pushed you?
I'll tell you another story in the same block as part of the chase. So I lived in an apartment that was, you had to go up 4 flights of stairs to get to my apartment. And it was a little apartment. And when I first moved there, it wasn't such a great neighborhood. It changed over time, but it was not so great. There were a bunch of abandoned buildings on the block and nearby. And one morning, I wake up. It's a studio apartment, which means there's no room. It's just like one room, right? And it's little. I wake up and I look over at the wall, which is, like as close as that wall. And for the first time, like I can't see it because I think to myself, it's very foggy in here. And I roll back over and go to sleep. My sense of smell was definitely letting me down. I was not paying attention to my sense of smell because I should have realized that was not smog. You never have smog inside. There's never, there was not that much smog, period. Anyway, so my neighbor, one of the 3 neighbors, there were 4 studio apartments on that floor, got up much sooner than I did, and he was banging on everybody's door and he yells fire. And then I realize that my whole apartment is really seriously full of smoke, not fire, but smoke. Mm-hmm. And I get up, get dressed faster than I'd ever gotten up and gotten dressed in my life before or since. Go out in the hall, and then we realize, all right, wait a minute, let's see what's going on. So we're about to start to go up to the roof, but then up the stairs comes a firefighter, right? And he's carrying his axe. He's got an oxygen tank on his back. He's got a heavy uniform. He's wearing boots. He's got a heavy helmet on. And we've seen, when you live on the 4 flights of stairs, you find out what kind of shape everybody you know is in. Some people come up, they're a little out of breath. They think it's a good challenge, that, they're happy. Other people, you could go to the movies before they get up to see it, between the time they buzz and the time you let them in. This guy was completely different than any out of shape people that visited me. He's sprinting up the stairs with all that stuff on. And then he says, just like this, could you guys give me a boost over the wall? Just like that, while he's sprinting, carrying all this stuff. So we said, yeah. So we go up to the roof and we give him a boost between the roof of our building. There's a wall and the roof of the other building. And it was heavy. I mean, we were all, we gave him, it was good. We felt good to help him. And then his job was to smash a hole in the roof of the other building to let some of the hot air out as part of helping the fire. Yeah, so he's up there by himself while all the other firefighters are fighting from below and from ladders. So then we look over the back of our building and the smoke is billowing out and making a U-turn and coming into our building. So we realize, okay, wait a minute. Our building looks okay. It's just a ton of smoke is coming in. So then we go to the front to see what's going on there, the street side of the building. And there's all the fire trucks and the ladders and the hoses. And immediately, as soon as we look over the edge, the firefighter in charge, like he has a bullhorn, and he yells up, "You idiots, get off the roof and get out of the building." He had a point there. So we head back down. I stopped at my apartment, took a quick shower and changed, and then went to work. But it's just a good, a good story in the sense of pay attention to your different senses. I should not have rolled over and gone back to sleep. If my neighbor had not been home, who knows how long before I would have realized there was a fire there.
Yeah, I have a totally dead sense of smell, so I'm like doomed in any fire situation. It's like I lived in a place called Greeley, and we had a bunch of cows and stuff, and so it's like I'm pretty sure all this cow particles are lodged in my brain, and I can't smell anything anymore. And so, but what is your life though, Ken? Ken, you're just like, oh, that time I casually threw a firefighter onto another building, And so for you, like of all these experiences that you've recounted in your book, like what was like your favorite to share and why?
The one you wanted me to give more detail on, the parachuting, which I could explain more. The one I just told, the almost walking into the water in Baltimore. I don't know. It depends on the situation. So that if I'm in a situation related to one of those, or the stories of in Montana of driving and ranching and all of that, that's really fun. It depends what the person or people I'm talking to are interested in. Some people really like certain types of things, and so if one of my stories fits in, I'll bring it up.
Yeah, well, that was what was killing me when I was preparing this interview. Is just like you have all these just great experiences, and I just want to dive into each one of them, and we just don't have time, and that's just challenging. But like for you, like I guess like what pushed you to go skydiving in the first place, though?
Well, I thought it would be really fun, and
Mm-hmm.
it didn't really worry about. I figured, all right, I'm in the sky. What's the difference? I'm not going to run into anything. It's all air, so I don't have to worry about seeing, like a bump in the road or a pothole or a dip or, somebody running into me. I just, there's the plane, then there's the earth. What I didn't really think about at all, which I should have thought about, was am I going to be able to spot the place I'm supposed to land?
Uh-huh.
And I didn't think of that till like after my parachute opened. It's a very, very nice feeling when your parachute does open, and you just feel, oh, this is so good. And then you're looking around, and I'm looking around, and I'm thinking, where the heck am I supposed to go now? Because you can steer,
Uh-huh.
but you need to, steer for something. So luckily, at that time of year and everything, there was one field that was not a farmer's field, full of crops that were really obvious, like they hadn't been cut down yet, and they weren't a parking lot or something. So it was only one option. So I said, all right, I'll aim for that. And then I got much closer. It probably had to be much closer than other people, but I got much closer, and then I could see a circle of people. And I knew, all right, that circle of people, I'm supposed to be aiming for the middle of that because they're going to be standing around the target. So I aimed for them, and I couldn't see the target till I got much closer. And that target is just the size of a frisbee. And when you do competitive parachuting, at that time anyway, that was the whole point. You would get as close to that little frisbee size thing as you
Uh-huh.
could. And I got pretty close. I didn't hit it, but I was very close. And so I ended up doing pretty well in that whole thing, and became, for a while, the captain of my university parachuting team.
Nice. I was like, you're a braver man than me. I'm curious, like is like having more like limited vision like a comfort in like when it comes to like the heights and stuff, or was it kind of nerve wracking beforehand? Kind of like because like for me, I used to teach like a high ropes course, and like I would actually sometimes do it blindfolded just for the fun of it, and I actually found it to be easier to do it blindfolded because I was more focused on where I was versus like being afraid of falling, I guess.
Uh, No, because you can still, you're in the plane. You're looking at this big opening on the side of the
Hmm.
plane, and that you can see the ground far, and it's far, far below.
Uh-huh.
So it's you have to overcome that, and then on the plane that we used, you didn't just jump out of the plane, which might have, I don't know, might have been easier.
Uh-huh.
Instead, you had to crawl out
Oh gosh.
below the wing. So you're standing on one metal thing
Oh.
that's above the engine, and one
Oh.
metal thing you're holding onto with your hands, which is below the wing. So you're
Oh.
hanging on for dear life because the plane is flying, it's
Yeah.
making a lot of noise, and the wind is coming at you because you're flying. You're really holding on to save your life, and then you have to let go.
Oh, I was like, yeah, that is never happening in my life. I was like, you're making me nervous. My hands are sweating literally just hearing you say it. Like when I was reading that chapter too in the book, it was just like, I can't even. We have Asher Taylor saying hi, so hi Asher. So in the live comments, but man, yes, skydiving is just something that is just not in my wheelhouse. I'll leave that to you, Ken. It's like even though you don't do it anymore, but like, ooh, I was
No,
like,
but
you
I
are a brave
highly
soul.
recommend it to
Oh my
anybody who's
goodness.
thinking about it. It's
Oh
a
my.
very fun thing, and the way I did it, it was you can do things now where you basically you're attached to somebody. Like you
Yeah,
go
tandem.
up and you're strapped to them, and
Hmm.
and they go out of the plane. They control the parachute. They control the landing, and you're just you're like a knapsack attached to their front. And that wasn't what I was doing. We were doing like actual
Oh my
jumping
goodness.
and landing on your own and packing your own parachute if you wanted to, all of that stuff.
Oh my goodness, Ken. I was like, you get a medal. I was like, this is why I appreciate your book because I can read about these things and then the timid soul that I am, you don't have to go do it. So if you're a timid soul like me, go check out Ken's book. It'll inspire you and you can read it from a safe distance from these things. And so all right, Ken, one last one before we dive into like reading some of the jokes from your book because each of your chapters ends with like kind of a fun just lighthearted joke. And so like we have a lot of young people that watch this show, and if one of them is feeling like inadequate in some portion of their life per se, like what is your message for them, since I find you to be just a really inspiring person just in the adventures you've had in your life, but also your like positive like humorous attitude about everything. So like what would be your message for any of those young people that are still trying to figure out life and still trying to overcome things, I guess?
Well, first, I think everybody feels that way to some degree
Mm-hmm.
for their entire life, and
Yeah.
it's unusual for somebody to be super confident forever about everything, so
Yeah,
so
not
don't
everyone
think
can be
you're
me. I'm I'm
alone.
I'm super confident about everything. I'm in charge, except for skydiving. Just sorry, you're going, Ken. Sorry.
But everybody's got their own limitations, that are, might be more visible or less visible. It doesn't matter. Just do everything you can to, like in the case of me with vision, you do everything you can. You stay healthy, you exercise, you eat right, you go to the eye doctor, you get checked, you do, if you need to have an operation, you get it. I wore glasses for a long time, which was the best thing I could get, and then after a while, I could get contacts. I was able to wear them, and then after a while, I had cataract in both eyes. So now I don't have contacts. They're like, and when you have a cataract, they're permanently in. So do whatever you can medically that you need to do. But then when you've done all of that stuff, just be very grateful for whatever capability you have. Thanks to modern science and technology, I have vision. I can go do stuff. I can be on this. I can see your picture. Some people can see much less. Most people can see much more. But be grateful for whatever you have. Then figure out, what do you want to do? You can do whatever you want, and almost everything you want. And whatever you do, just give it a red hot go. Just go for it. It doesn't matter what it is. Don't let people discourage you. Just go for it. And then lastly, just enjoy it. Enjoy the challenges of whatever your challenge is. Have fun, laugh at yourself and laugh with others, and have a good time.
Nice. Yeah. Well, and I love that inspirational walkaway message. All right, we're going to get into reading jokes. Dr. Wilde threw you another question just briefly, and then we are going to get into reading a bit. It says, hey, Ken, how many hours a day do you write?
Well, when I was writing the book, it was very sporadic. It took me about 2 years to write the book, not because I was working on it every day. I did the opposite. I'd think of a story, and then I would write it down, and I'd do a bunch of those, and then I would stop for a week or two, and then I would think of other stories and write them down, or edit the ones that I'd already written. And I kept up that pattern for a while, and then started running them by people to make sure they were accurate. Like the one with my friend chasing the thief in New York. He helped me with. I wasn't sure of exactly which street corner some of the stuff happened on, and we together he did a map, and that whole thing worked out. So you need to. I varied it a lot. There were some days I worked on it 8 hours, but most of the time I'd work on it sort of in spurts. I'd work 12 hours or none. Or 5 days of 12 hours, and then I wouldn't do anything for a month or something. So I was all over the place, and I think that worked. Having the pauses in between, for me, helped me edit, helped my editor, helped me rewrite, and helped me think of new stories that I accidentally left out.
Yeah, the key message from Ken is be lazy. It works for your for your writing. Just joking. Take a break all the time. I'm just joking. Yeah, it is important to take a break. I recently just did that myself. It's kind of like a writing sabbatical. So, hey, Ken, I do want to thank you, everyone, by the way, that's been watching live and throwing questions. It's so much fun to get to throw those right to our authors. And so, Dr. Wilde says, oh, that's a lot of hours. Hey, Ken, where do you get all your information or ideas for writing books? Unfortunately, we're actually running low. Sorry, Dr. Wilde. You'll have to throw that to Ken. Maybe go to his website and throw him a question there. I want to read maybe one of the jokes. I don't think we're gonna have time for all of them, Ken. Okay. From your book, Ken likes to end his chapters with a joke, and I just love that. Just having a lighthearted humor. Sorry, really quick. This is a question I actually had too. Martin Anderson says, do you have another book in the works? You were mentioning something about an audio book. So what's going on there, Ken?
Two things. One, the audio book, most of the narration has been completed. So I read 99% of the book, but nice. The person who wrote the foreword, who's really actually a very interesting person, he's a forester who works all over the world, helping to reclaim old mines and industrial sites into meadows and forests. He wrote the foreword, and very eloquent woman who is from America, now lives in Australia, reads the quote at the start of each chapter. And a professional actor friend of mine who was in a bunch of different things here in Australia and other places, including Mad Max. He was in Mad Max. He reads the jokes at the end of each chapter. So between all of that, the bulk of that is done, and it's being put together, and hopefully in a few months or so, the audiobook will come out. And then in terms of another book, eventually what I'd like to do is collect other people's anecdotes and inspiring stories and adventures and stuff, and have that be a collection and have that be another book.
Fun. Okay. Well, if you have...
also one friend is trying to convince me we should go around to 1 million different pizza places and write a book about all the different pizza places. That sounds pretty fun too. I don't know what the order of all this will be.
Yeah, I love pizza, so please do.
Exactly.
Excuse me, sorry. So, all right, here, Ken, we're actually down to the wire here on time. So, really fast, let's go with the second joke, my favorite, the garden snake, the green snake.
Okay.
All right. Are you good with that?
I'm here. I'm on the right page.
All right, great. So, well, we get to hear a sample of Ken's.
Wait, I'm going to put my reading glasses on just a second.
Sounds like a plan. So we get to hear a sample of Ken's book, but also his narration, right? Because he's got the audio book coming. So, and Dr. Weil said, by the way, is thanking you, Ken. He said, "Hey, Ken, it's great to ask questions about your writing and life. So thanks for being inspiring to others." So here we go. A green snake goes to the optometrist because his eyesight is failing. It's actually affecting my life. I can't hunt anymore because I can't see.
The doctor fits the snake with glasses, and the snake immediately notices an improvement in his eyesight. A week later, the doctor calls the snake to check on how the glasses are holding up.
"Oh, they're fine," the snake answers, "but now I'm being treated for depression."
Depression, the doctor says.
"Yeah, my eyesight cleared up, but it made me realize I've been dating a garden hose." So honestly, I love your humor, Ken. I just love just your inspirational pieces, and I just love just these anecdotes from your adventurous life. But we're running out of time, unfortunately. I would talk to you all day if I could, honestly. It's like, but how can we, like, just as a community, how can we support you? We already have we have your book down in the description. We have your website down in the description for anyone that wants to check out his works. But Ken, how can we support you other than that?
Recommend the book. Say some nice things on social media. Invite me to speak at your local club or convention or national convention. Any of those things would be tremendous.
Awesome. Oh, great. Hey, Ken, I'm going to go ahead and send you back down below. But honestly, it has just been a blast getting to talk to you. Thank you for being on Diabolic Shrimp.
Thank you very much.
All right. I'm going to send you back down below there, Ken. So that was Ken Brandt. Once again, if you want to support him, he's just a really nice guy. Just like I said, very inspiring, but also just a book full of adventures. So check out his stuff down in the description. If you want to support Diabolic Shrimp, that's my author site that this is connected to. I invite other authors and readers there and connect up authors and readers for free. But any extra money I make off of this or off of that or on my book sales, that if you want to support me, I give extra money to universally good things like childhood disease research or planting trees or ocean exploration and care. So please do come buy some of my books or just check out some of this stuff for free or like and subscribe to the channel by hitting that red subscribe button down below. But thank you so much for coming and spending your Monday night with us, or day if you're down there in Australia. Thank you very much for watching. This has been another Diabolic Shrimp. Have a good night.